With another episode of Heartbeat OK. Hey, I'm Dave Morris here in the Oklahoman's video studio. An important segment here of CPR today with the American Heart Association. I'm joined by Terry Bailey and Debbie Height. Ladies, great to see you. Thanks for stopping in.
Thanks for having us.
And this will be educational, informative, a little bit of humor and levity once we get to the musical side of things here. But CPR is certainly a very important topic to talk about.
Absolutely. We know that we've seen evidence that CPR can either double or triple your chance of survival when somebody has cardiac arrest. So it is a very important topic.
And the basics of CPR, there are two steps, if you will, to save a life. Number one is to make that phone call, right?
911. It's very important because the time starts as soon as you activate the emergency system. And they page the first responders so they can be assembling so that you don't waste time driving to the ER and then them at that point starting the clock. And also, not every hospital has people waiting ready to go 24/7 for every specialty. So, if you activate the 911 system and utilize our ambulances, then you're sure to go to the right place while they're assembling, and you shave off time, precious time. We know that treatment.
That's a key point because there's work going on in the background, the preparation at that hospital. The ambulance is going to take you to that hospital.
Exactly.
And in the meantime, at the scene, you can be applying is the word I'm looking for.
Yes.
The appropriate technique.
Correct. And just recently, we did a study that showed that you don't have to use the breaths like we've all been taught when we were younger. Medical personnel will still use the breathing, but as a bystander, you can be just as effective just using the compressions. And you just have to do them hard enough and fast enough.
Well, now what is this device here?
Well, this is our little mini Annie, and so it's just a mini version of the dummy that if anybody's been trained in CPR, they've recognized. But this is just a smaller, scaled down version, and we've had lots of students who have used this little Annie and quite successfully too. So we just thought we'd bring our little friend here with us today to show us. So what you do is, I'm not going to be able to do it because I can't get over it as hard, but you just right in the middle of the chest and you just press 30 beats, it's basically 100 beats a minute.
Gotcha.
So let's just say that. Which you don't want to be counting 100 beats going, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. All you can do, a really easy step, probably a lot of you have heard this, is the song Staying Alive. So if you think about that beat,
and it's one of those iconic songs.
That's right.
As soon as you hear someone say the name, the title of the Bee Gees song, instantly in the back of your mind, you're like, you have that beat going.
You do.
Exactly. And I was telling you this earlier. I heard another first responder who was talking about it's also the same beat as Another One Bites the Dust. But I just think that Staying Alive has such a much better
it also has the bass line, it also has the beat, which would be
Yes.
applicable to this, but you're right.
Yeah.
Do you want Another One Bites the Dust? Do you want Staying Alive? Clearly, the end
want
goal
Staying
here
Alive.
is
And that is what we're fighting for at the Heart Association, right?
Absolutely,
We have
right.
too many people fighting the dust. We need more Staying Alive.
Absolutely.
You mentioned perhaps you've heard this before, but when you hear that information, instantly you remember it.
Yes. So just think, Bee Gees, Staying Alive, disco saves lives.
911 first, and then go
Yes,
straight into
there
your
you go.
grooving, really fast and hard. You can't really do it too soft. You want to make sure that and the nice thing about these mannequins is that they click when you're doing it hard enough so that you get a feel for just how hard you've got to be pushing down, and it's harder than you think, really.
I was amazed when you put our friend down here on the desk and you started giving the demonstration before we started rolling here, really how hard you do have to press.
We were afraid we were going to break the table, so we kind of
could happen.
scrapped the whole demo here. But this is really cool because, I don't know if everybody knows this, but the American Heart Association is the organization that originally funded all of the research that developed CPR in the first place. So everybody that uses the science borrows it from us, which we're proud to do. But, and part of our Oklahoma progress, we are now having all of our high school students learn CPR as part of our graduation requirement. And with that, we've developed a kit to help teachers implement this as easily and turnkey as possible. We know they're busy, they're already stretched thin, so we want to be a part of giving tools that make it easy to do this. And so we have a CPR in Schools kit. It's a great big kit with 10 of these mannequins in there with all the different tools you need, the knee pads, the mechanism to blow it up, the mechanism for germ removal.
Well
You
said.
know, yes,
CPR
thank you. And then we
video.
have in English and Spanish video that teaches it, and then we also have a staff person that will go through a webinar and kind of tutor whoever gets assigned to be the teacher. So even if you're not certified and you've never done it before, you can still teach it effectively. And so we're working to find sponsors around our community that will help us place these school kits. And we have a success story that we just heard about in Tecumseh, which is not very far away from here, in a little bitty town. The school nurse just taught her high schoolers CPR December. So this is just 2 months.
Right before the
I mean,
holidays,
right
she's
away.
like, hey guys.
And she just called me this last week to tell me that 2 of the young men were in situations just since December that they had an opportunity to save life. One of the young men was visiting his girlfriend's house, and her father dropped in front of him. And he did 10 minutes of CPR waiting for the ambulance to arrive and saved his life.
Wow.
I mean, he had just been taught, he happened to be just in an everyday
Right place,
environment.
right time, and he had the knowledge.
The other young man was with his grandmother, and she was portraying the symptoms of a cardiac arrest and doing like what a lot of women do, and just kind of poo-pooing it. She wasn't taking it seriously. She wouldn't let him call 911. I'm fine. But
No one wants to go to the hospital
No,
with the
but you know
doctor ever,
what?
right?
We've got to reckon. We got to listen to our bodies. This is a life or death thing, and time, you know, is just critical to your chance of survival. And so anyway, at one point he just decided he was taking her to the hospital, and apparently he carried her to the car, drove her to the ER. She was in fact having a heart attack. He did diagnose it correctly, and he saved her life. And that was since December in Little Tecumseh. We're going to find that we have lots of situations like that, which is what we're striving to do. And Terry is probably going to share some stats about us versus Seattle.
Well, and you know, since we've just been implementing this new law this year, this school year, and we've already seen a couple of lives that have been saved that we know of.
And this is the CPR in Schools Bill, House Bill 1378.
Right,
Yes.
and it passed a couple of years ago. It was implemented this year. And so every year we've got graduating seniors that will be flooding our streets and able to save lives. And the exciting thing about this is that when you look at our statistics right now, this is not the exciting part, but in our statistics right now is if you have a cardiac arrest in our state, your chances of survival, if you have it outside of the hospital, are 9%. Now, that's
Less than a
not-
1 in 10 chance.
Right,
That's
yeah,
not
that's
good.
not good. If you have it in Seattle, your chances of survival are 59%. And the only difference between us and Seattle in this statistic is that they have been teaching CPR in schools for 20 years.
So in that 20 years, that population is much more educated in how to respond.
Exactly. So almost anywhere you go in Seattle, if you have a cardiac arrest, there is going to be somebody there who knows exactly what to do. And we're going to be like that too now that we have this law. So we're already seeing lives saved. We're very excited about that, and it's only going to continue to grow as more and more students every single year populate our streets and our cities and our towns with this life-saving knowledge.
We estimate 38,000 high school seniors graduate every year in Oklahoma, and that's every community, metro, rural, everywhere. And so it's per capita where you live, so it's kind of a fair way to make sure the playing ground is leveled out, and no matter where you are in those communities, you're going to have somebody who knows what to do and will respond.
It's fantastic news. And speaking of fantastic, one thing before we get out of here, the Hardball is coming up.
Yes.
It is this Saturday. I'm very excited. It's our Black Tie Gala. It is one of our larger fundraisers for the American Heart Association. We have about 750 guests that are going to be coming this
That's great.
year. And yeah, we've got a lot of really great supporters. Chickasaw Nation has been our presenting sponsor for the last 9 years. And we have a really great Sweetheart class that we'll be presenting. And you know, if somebody would like to give, we are actually going to be raising money for placing CPR kits in the schools that night. And if they're not able to come, but they would still like to contribute to that, then they can go onto our website, which is heart.org/OKC Heartball. And the kit themselves, just to partner with us, are $5,000. But of course, any donation will be much appreciated. So.
You know, another thing that people don't always remember about us is we're not only the American Heart Association, but we are the American Stroke Association. And the family that's going to be featured with a really cool survivor story has been long-term volunteers for us, and they were impacted by a stroke. And so it's really going to be important to learn about the symptoms of stroke as well. And you know, FAST is kind of a four-letter word that you can remember really quickly that can help you identify. So F stands for face, A stands for arms. So if somebody's got drooping of the face, that might be a symptom. If they can't hold their arms out and keep them stable, that would be a symptom that would be very visible for you. S is speech. So if they're garbled in their speech, if they can't get their words out, if they're not making any sense, that would be a real trigger for you. And so if anybody's having any of those triggers, you need to make a really quick reaction to call 911. So the T stands for time, because the best treatments for stroke have a time limit. And you've got to be able to prove to the doctors at the hospital you know when it started, so that they can calculate whether you're in that window or not, because after that window you actually can do some harm to somebody. So in order to get the very best treatment possible, you have to respond timely.
Wow.
So hopefully that is helpful to any of our viewers.
It's been a very, very helpful segment from start to finish, whether there's
And we haven't
musical
even sung yet.
information.
I know, right?
Ladies, thanks so much for stopping in. Much appreciate the information. Best of luck this weekend. Have fun at the Hardball.
Thank you.
Raise lots of money.
Thank you.
And thanks for stopping in to raise awareness.
Thank you. Appreciate you having us.